All right. Welcome, white, red, and neuron cells alike, to another Lethal Introspection special. Another Sunday gone. And today we have, as we always do, the city of Matt.
Oh, hello.
The city of Hannah.
Hello.
And as a special and continuously recurring guest, the city of Kimmy.
Hello.
All right. So today we kind of broke the rules a little bit because for the most part, we try to only keep the movies that at least one of us haven't seen before. But unfortunately, this movie is so goddamn banging that everybody has seen this. It's touched everybody's life. Hannah's even got a small little anecdote about how in her deeply Christian home, this one managed to be able to squeak right on by the censors and actually...
A PG-13 at such a young age.
Mm-hmm.
You know
Parents
why?
were like, oh, a cartoon, Bill Murray, we're cool.
Yeah, it's because it was only violence. No sexual stuff.
Some of the violence was pretty rough, though.
It was pretty great.
I wasn't really protected from violence, though, just sexual stuff.
Like, oh, you can get hit. Don't worry. I mean, just don't get pregnant.
I mean, Osmosis and Leah got kind of close together.
There was some pretty racy.
I
He was
mean,
looking
there
at
were
a
comments.
DNA magazine at the start of it.
There was some sultriness to it, let's say.
Yeah,
You know.
but
He
like
had a
the
pin
stuff
up in
the
his
kids
locker.
won't-
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. There was like 30,
Oh.
there was 2/3 boobs.
So Christian
showing.
parents beware, all right? Don't think.
No, don't tell them.
No, my bad.
No, this is an educational movie.
Oh,
Violence is a recurring theme in the Bible. We need to get used to violence.
there you go. You heard it here first.
Not first. Nobody's hearing it first. Let's pick a Bible story at random.
Violence is educational.
No, it's true. The reason why I find this movie to be resonant to our podcast and why I was so gung-ho about wanting to do it is because since we talk about introspection, and introspection is something that deals with the inside of ourselves, what better movie than to do it than one that anthropomorphizes literally every aspect of the anatomical human condition. You know, every single white blood cell, red blood cell, I think they said like 12 trillion or something like that. You know, something in the trillion of cells that exist in this one body, you know, and as the guy said, cells vote. Every single one of them has their own mind. Every single one of them, you know, like the body at least runs by consensus, it seems like. Like the grief of Frank's wife caused the majority of the cells inside of his body to then fall into grief that allowed all of them to pick a mayor such as the one that they had right now. Voiced by Will Shatner, which was so great.
Oh, shit. Is that who that was?
Yeah,
I
it was
couldn't
Will
place
Shatner.
it.
I didn't notice that either.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice.
Yeah. Well, now I can go around the room now that I explained the reason why I broke the seal as to wanting to do this one. And
I'm so glad you explained it because I did not understand how this fit into our content.
see, it fits right in. You want osmosis? You got osmosis. Fit right in through those
I'm
cracks.
jonesing for some more osmosis.
See, we were made for this movie.
And this is where I take my leave. I will never return.
That's a movie quote. I took it from the movie. We didn't come up with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Blame the movie.
Or don't praise it.
That's what we're all here for today.
I'm going to start with Kimmy when it comes to questions and opinions because I know that she's the most recent out of all of us who has seen this movie. And I know that because I showed it to her for the first time. Please, go ahead, Kimmy. Give me your opinion.
How long ago did you show me this movie? Like 2 years ago?
Thereabouts, yeah.
Yeah. So I've known Jose since I was 18 and I'm 30. So it's like 12 years. And for 12 years, he's been making Osmosis Jones references probably like once a month, you know? Like
Solid average, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's a very accurate number.
Wait. Important question then. When's the last time you saw this movie before this podcast?
When I watched it with her.
Yeah, a couple years ago.
Okay, before that one where you were making the references.
Oh, when I was making the references, probably 6 years prior to. First time I watched it, I was probably 10 years old. Pretty much right. If it was 2001, then I was 10 when it eventually made its loop around into HBO. Just like with the Time Machine, that's how I managed to snag all these sweet movies back in the day.
Oh, so this is going to be our next banger.
Mm-hmm.
Better
Oh,
be
yeah,
the
for
next
sure.
banger.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
It's prophesized.
Everything Jose picks breaks 50,000 views.
But no, he had me watch it. Honestly, I was gung-ho for watching this just because a lot of your normal content is not something I would ever select on my own. And it would take the persuasive skills of 3 of my closest friends and the comfort of their home and a couple bowls of chips that I can stress eat to get through those films.
And I'll have you know, it's still been incredibly difficult to get her here.
Yeah. I will tell you, I didn't stress eat anything during this film because it's fucking gross. I thought about, without thinking about it, ended up getting some healthy meals beforehand. We got some grain bowls and some salads, some protein shakes. Not really
Guilt-free.
thinking about like the healthy theme of the film. But I thought
But
about
it's all
continuing to eat during it,
connected.
and it was definitely, it's gross. I forget about how gross it is. The cartoon part is the best. Chris Rock is hilarious.
Wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely.
10 out of 10.
I think the general story is quite sweet and wholesome, and I like how it is truly educational. And like some of the themes, definitely, I get that it's PG-13. I understand why they would rate it that way.
Mhm.
At the same time, you also, I feel like, would have to be about 13 to understand how the body works like that. So it all makes sense. I thought it was a great film.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Good.
Matt,
Yeah.
what do you think?
Well, first, man. So I don't remember watching this.
Yeah,
movie.
give me your history on this movie.
Yeah, I know I'd seen it because there was a couple times where I was like, "Oh, that looks familiar," but I never.
Keep in mind that the Disney Channel had a TV show named Ozzy and Drix back in the day. So this concept and the animated aspect, such as Kimmy said, was so popular that they decided to make it at least an over 100 episode.
I'm going to say that I think that is more popular
Cartoon.
than the movie, because when I told people I was going to be watching Osmosis Jones soon, they're like, "Oh, the show?" And I was like, "No, the movie." And they're like, "Oh," like more people I feel like understand the show than the movie.
I didn't know there was a show.
That's how I felt too.
Did anybody watch the show
No.
here?
I watched little bits of the show. I watched the first episode, and it actually is a in-universe continuation of this one, wherein Frank exists in the animated show, but because he's so nasty, something happens that causes Osmosis and Drix, much like in like the whole like sneezing and stuff, to land on this teenage boy. And because of that, he gets reinstated into the Force inside of this teenage boy's body. And so because of that, they're able to make all of the episodes have to deal with like teenagehood and like adolescence and like
What?
yeah, and
You
like
can't just adopt white blood cells from other people.
well,
Talk about being reassigned, man. That's a
well, listen, this is an
physically
adolescent. His
impossible.
body's growing. All right, they'll take any help they can get. They're fighting all of those hormones down in the junk.
It's a constant battle down there.
Gross.
Exactly.
No, I think.
But the
even
movie
though-
itself, I mean,
Yeah.
like, did any of it feel familiar to you? Because if you
Oh,
haven't
for
watched
sure.
the movie,
Yeah, there was
it's awesome. Because then that means we haven't broken our rule.
There were some specific scenes where just the art style or whatever jumped out to me. I was like, oh, I
Mhm.
kind of remember what happens here. But I think even as a young child of 11 or 12 or whenever I saw it, probably around the same time as you,
Mhm.
I maybe was too keen on the like degeneracy of a cartoon spinoff where I was like, ugh, get that away from me, kind of. So I never saw the show, but I remember. Okay, this show is meant for
from an early age.
adults. Like this movie, sorry, is meant for like I wouldn't have gotten half of these jokes at that age.
No way.
Not
Yeah.
even half of
This
them.
is the movie, funny enough as it is, this is the movie that you take when you're a single dad, you know what I mean, or a single parent to the movies, wherein the kid will love it because it's animated, it's high-paced enough, you know what I mean, there's enough bodily gags that they will always be laughing, but you as the parent, will be able to sit there and actually be like, yeah, you'll be able to be doing that.
Yeah.
And your kid will look over at you and be like, oh, this movie must be great. My dad's laughing, like I'm laughing, like
Yeah.
it hits all the tones, like
Yeah, there was enough fart jokes in there for everybody.
Oh,
that's for sure.
I believe so.
I could do
loved
with
every one of them.
a few less. Fuck.
Yeah, I was gonna
Bullshit.
say few less fart jokes could have been accepted, and honestly may have brought the score up higher.
Okay, I'm sorry, but There was no fart
Higher
joke.
than
The
5?
last fart joke
I'm
was
sorry.
the
I
very
know
last
there,
one.
I know there wasn't
think
any
there were
fart
3.
jokes,
Were
but
there?
there were some very
Well, to finish
gross
the acts.
moments. I mean, you even pointed out that like on the board for like what he had very recently eaten was like boogers and stuff like that. Like just
That's
so
gross.
Okay, yeah, okay. We're
That's
talking about
gross.
grossness, sure. I was talking about farts. All right, specific farts.
Same thing.
Very different category.
Same thing.
Sorry. No, but I remembered. All I remembered out of this movie was that David Hyde Pierce voiced the pill guy,
Mhm.
and he's fucking fantastic.
Wait. David Hyde Pierce does Dilbert from Treasure Planet. That's the same voice.
Who is this gentleman?
David Hyde Pierce is Frasier's brother.
Oh.
you ever seen The Perfect Toast?
No.
Perfect
Ooh.
Post. Put it on our list.
Yeah, Perfect Toast is on the list.
It's
now.
a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's that guy, and I just remember because when I was really little, we used to have this like 8x8 black and white knob TV in my bedroom, and before we would go to sleep, we would always watch Frasier, and so I loved Frasier as a little kid.
Got
And
it.
so because David Hyde Pierce
A
was
weird
the
thing
voice
for
of
a
the
little
pill
kid.
guy, I remember, oh, this is gonna be awesome because it's Frasier's brother. And so I remember being very excited about
Niles,
that.
is that the name of his brother?
Yeah, Niles in
Yeah.
the show. Yeah. And I was kind of a little hesitant to watch because it was
Just like with the
PG-13,
time machine.
and I thought, oh, maybe this movie wouldn't hold up, like maybe it's more like kid oriented, but this is the perfect. It wasn't until credits rolled that I saw Farrelly Brothers,
Mhm.
front and center, that I was like, oh, it makes sense now that every joke was a
They're
banger.
the kings of the PG-13.
Yeah.
You know,
And this movie could have easily been an R-rated movie, and it would have been funnier probably, but it really, like, for what they had to work with, they've nailed it. Like,
For the uncultured swine like myself, who are the Farrelly brothers and what else have they done?
oh, I'll pull
Dumb
up a
and
list
Dumber.
while you guys, yeah.
Oh.
they did The Ringer. They
I'll just start listening.
they did Shallow Hal. Something
didn't
about
realize
Mary.
they did The
Oh,
Ringer,
Shallow
too.
Hal? Oh, ooh, really?
Yeah, they got pedigree in terms of the PG-13 funnies.
Shallow
Just in
Hal
terms
is
of
very
comedy,
good film.
like
so is
they,
Something About Mary. I mean, Something About Mary is like an okay film, but Jack Black is great.
I'm slow here. Me, Myself, and Irene.
Ooh.
Hall Pass, which was okay. Kingpin.
Kingpin.
There's Something About Mary. That's all the good ones.
Still the big ones, yeah. Hey, listen, I've done no movies, all right? So, I mean, they've got me completely destroyed, all right? Well, that's awesome, man. Hannah, we already began unearthing you a little bit, but, give us the whole...
Yeah, I mean, I guess I have a full history with this movie. I haven't seen it since I was a kid, but I used to select this at Blockbuster as a VHS.
Sticking it to him early.
Let me
me the
learn about the
violence.
body.
I want to learn about the.
It was more like
Don't
it's a
just keep saying
cartoon.
God did it. I want to know.
Wow. Okay.
Let me thank Frank instead.
Great joke.
But yeah, it was. We used to have this family tradition where Friday night was movie night. So
Mhm.
weekly we would go to Blockbuster on Friday to pick out, and all the kids. My family had a lot of kids, so all the kids got to pick out a VHS.
Quick logistical question in terms of that, just so I can get into
Yeah,
the
that's
a
headspace
long
of the situation.
night,
Bring us
Hannah.
in.
All right,
Bring us
I don't want to put your family's information, you know what I mean, out on the web like that.
No,
but
we
I
can't.
can only imagine it's a lot. It's a good enough of them. What is it? A situation where you guys would sit down and watch every VHS you guys each picked, or was it like once every week one of you guys would get to pick the VHS?
No, we sat and watched all of them. We would watch all of them during the weekend. We'd only watch probably 2 or 3 that night.
Got it. Okay.
And I always got
Got
to
it.
go
Oh.
first because I'm the youngest and I have the earliest bedtime.
okay. Slam dunk. Nice.
Get it out of the way.
Yeah.
Also, movies were like an hour long back then. I don't know if you like Aladdin. I think is 68 minutes or something.
No way. Is it really
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
short?
Okay. So that, not to derail too much, but apparently that Eternals movie is like 2.5 hours long, and I was like, oh well, that's a trek. That's a lot.
That's movies now.
That
It's like a
Now
Hobbit.
is that.
yeah.
But
Anyway.
Yeah, sorry.
anyway. Yeah, so I used to pick out this movie, I think, relatively frequently after I exited the Scooby-Doo phase. I would pick out...
Tell us about that.
Yeah.
No, let's
let's
not.
rewind a little further back now.
With my first movie picking rights, I really bummed my family out with a different Scooby-Doo film.
Did you ever
my
watch
voice can be heard.
the Louisiana one or whatever?
I'm sure I watched all of
Oh,
them. I don't have
wonderful.
clear memories of all of them.
The one where Daphne became a news reporter.
Yeah.
Search me.
Good stuff.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie as a child. Watching it now was a little bit weird because I'm so separated from that time
Yeah.
that I remember what I liked it for back then. Honestly, most of the parts of this movie that I remember are like the gross parts
Right.
that I don't have a lot of appreciation for right now. But as we started watching through this, I was like, oh my God, I had no idea what this movie was even about when I watched
Mhm.
it and when I thoroughly enjoyed it as a kid. But yeah, it's definitely like in some regards an unforgettable film because I remember a lot about this movie and I haven't seen it since I was, I don't know, 10, 11 maybe.
It's wonderful.
But yeah, and I also really like what they're doing because even if like there's a lot of words in here that are like, you know, biology words that you probably wouldn't get at that age because I started watching this movie when I think I was like 7 or something like that.
For sure.
But they promote a lot of things that kids do get. Like they promote dental health, they promote hygiene, they promote like eating right, and those sink in for kids too. Like I would probably put this in front of my kid just to get those points across. I don't have one, but I would think about it.
Yeah.
If you're gonna make yourself a fried Slim Jim sandwich for lunch, you might as well do it with the turkey Slim Jim.
Yeah, you should always
You know?
go for the turkey
Yeah.
sandwich.
Moral of the story at the end of it all. Yeah.
That's how she should have known he was thinking about her.
And don't eat
Got a different-
whole peanut shells.
Or circus peanuts. Don't eat a whole circus peanut.
Nobody should eat circus peanuts.
Yeah,
Nobody
correct.
should eat even
Let's-
part.
yeah,
of
back
This
that
should
up.
be a public service announcement, this movie, to never eat circus peanuts. Don't do it.
Well, we didn't get to the end of the credits. Maybe it did say that once it was rolling at the
Circus peanuts are not
Yeah.
food. Do not
Brought to you by the
ingest
Foundation Against Circus Peanuts.
packing materials for
Please stop
packages.
buying.
Where would one purchase circus peanuts? Are they at the gas station?
Yeah,
It's
they
probably
are.
some black market
Okay,
shit that
so
only
is that where like
Frank-
is that when there's like a undercover cop like waiting to like get you? Like they
Mhm,
catch
yeah,
you buying the
for
circus
entrapment.
peanuts and they're like,
Hopefully.
oh shit, you're into child trafficking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
obviously.
we should be concerned.
Yeah,
We only find these in pedophiles' cars.
correct.
But yeah, other high level note that I will make about this movie is the one thing that was lost on me watching it as an adult is definitely the dialogue between Bill Murray's character and his daughter
Oh,
is super cheesy and a little bit difficult to get behind, but there's a lot that I like about this movie still.
100%. I agree. As I grow older, it is the live action dialogue that gets to be the most grating out of it all. Just because of the fact that at least in the animated situation, there's always a funny pun that like anatomical pun that goes along with everything that they're doing. You know, it like there's a good level of levity, but at the same time, it's like especially in the United States, like obesity and having like unhealthy individuals in your life is such a rampant problem
Yeah.
that like the movie, it does actually speak quite heavily like to a highly topical problem. I mean, to the degree that it was speaking about it 20 years ago when we were all children, you know, and it's like the problem still persists to to a large degree.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's tough because I like when I was a little kid, the reason why this movie struck me so much is the same as what Hannah's saying, in the sense that like the anthropomorphizing of everything about my body just really did allow me to kind of like simplify the concept of myself in that way.
Yeah.
Like, because I was like, okay, like I am a whole bunch of different things, you know, working together at the same time. Some things want certain things, you know, and others want me to do other things, you know, like within the context and story of the movie, right? Like the reason why the mayor decides to placate so much is because the lipids and all of the fat cells all over the place are voting so much, and they're always voting for him. So he's always trying to make new new infrastructure with the new fat coming in order to be able to always keep his block happy, essentially.
Got to keep the love handles happy.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And
Construct that triple chin.
it's amazing how
Yes.
seamless making like a socioeconomic like intersection of like what running a city actually would be like, and like your body at the same time can work so well.
I'm sorry. The picture of Molly Shannon.
Also,
Molly
National
Shannon,
treasure.
hidden gem, always in everyone's lives, and also in this movie. She's great.
Mhm.
Also, like, for a way more simplistic child's view of the movie, this, at a young age, gave me an appreciation for the seriousness of spreading germs.
Yes, and being nasty too. That was another thing that I feel really like pierced inside of my brain in terms of like watching Bill Murray's character and stuff like that, and how you can bring it upon yourself, so easily like that just by being careless in, small ways like that. Like you said, I mean, like, yeah, if I had a kid, I would also, make them watch this movie just because it is like it does such a
Well, I didn't say make them.
no, I'd make them watch this
Sit
movie.
them down, keep their
And you're gonna laugh
eyelids
too.
open.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to laugh together,
Yeah.
but at different things.
On top of that, the biggest thing that really was lost on me as a kid, right? Because it's really interesting to unearth like plot points within the movie that you just couldn't catch, you know what I mean, when you were a child. And the whole Frank not like the reason why he doesn't want to go on the hiking trip isn't because he doesn't want to go on the hiking trip, is because he has an active restraining order from the teacher. When I was a little kid, I heard that, right? But I was like, but I'd never, like, I didn't have any concept of the legality of what it means to have a restraining order on somebody, and like the repercussions that could come alongside that. Like that line just, like went over my head every single time they said it.
I just thought he wasn't allowed to go. That's all that registered for me.
Yeah, exactly. But now there's a higher gravity to the situation, right? It isn't just like, oh, the school told you can't go. Like, no, you're legally bound to like keep away from this woman, and she has to give you permission to be near her and stuff like that. But then he has his pride in the sense that he doesn't want his already ostracized daughter to know that that her teacher has like this restraining order on him. So because of that, he has to like tiptoe around the whole situation and try to make up new things to be able to do in order to be able to keep her from finding out. And at the end of the movie, she doesn't find out. That's another interesting aspect about the whole thing, is that like he's managed to circumvent that idea. I mean, that whole issue,
There's a really good highlight of that subplot that, yeah, I never, I don't remember the first viewing, but I hardly registered that now that you're saying it.
Yeah.
But yeah. But that's like another one of these highlights on the struggles of being a single dad. That the
It
film
feels
is,
like this
trying
movie
to-
was made 100% specifically for single parents, like specifically single dads. You know what I mean? Like, hey, watch this movie with your single kid. Like, hey, are you?
Single kid? They better not have a boyfriend.
Yeah. Well, listen, if you have more than one, no, what I meant is just with your one kid. You know what I mean?
We
It's like
can
if you have more
single
than one kid and
commiserate.
you're single, you're like, ooh. I don't know if you'll be able to keep them corralled while you're watching the movie enough.
So my parents are still together, but my mom at times would go to the Philippines, and when she would, honestly, my dad and I were eating like Swanson meatloaf, like frozen meatloaves,
Oh, yeah.
and sloppy joes and chicken patties from the freezer.
And that's
So-
without grief.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And like a good night was like, KFC or whatever. Like
Another tidbit
Leg.
from my childhood.
Leg.
My mom
leg.
was a stay-at-home mom, but she used to go to quilt camp once a
Oh,
year
snap.
for a week straight.
when
Can
all
you
the kids had to
imagine
fend for
A
themselves.
more square event.
This is actually
It probably was rectangular. I mean,
Yeah.
most,
Most quilts are
it was
rectangles.
probably a lot of
isn't it?
shapes.
Well, all squares are no, all rectangles. No, never mind.
if your hypotenuse is correct.
Yeah,
But
my
yeah.
hypotenuse is correct.
She would plan all of our meals before she left, and my dad would also give each of us kids a jar of quarters to spend at Giovanni's, but every time we didn't do a chore to keep up the house that was assigned to us, he would take away a quarter.
Oof.
Yeah, so really the responsibility when she was gone was on us.
Yeah. It's like, don't make it so that your dad has
Like
to
the caretaker's
take a quarter.
gone, so that means you're the caretaker now.
You want these quarters or what?
I
didn't know your dad was transatlantic.
Actually, the
Yeah,
process
he's very Italian. Yeah.
rewarding with quarters is a very different system than taking quarters away when you miss something, and pretty traumatic. I cried about a lot of single quarters at that age.
Veto, no. No, Dad, it's clean. Don't you see?
Well, because it's competitive too. It's like my siblings are gonna get to play more at the pizza place than I am.
Oh dang! Your dad ran it like the people, like the people who built the pyramids, just like different gangs. See who does the best. All right, awesome,
But
man.
yeah.
I'm really glad Osmosis Jones is unearthing all of these nice old memories like
Single
this.
dad tendencies.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly. No, but that's exactly what it is, like it is so interesting again because as a child and who this movie was supposed to be directed to, quote unquote as like the general audience, right over my head,
Yeah,
like
also complexity of background jokes. This movie is full of jokes in the background to the point that I was actively watching for them by
Mhm.
like a quarter through the movie. And that's so much that the movie did, that they put effort into, that they planned and they implemented, that, yeah, goes right over their main audience's head.
And on top of that, the masterful and smart choice of using the police procedural to run the majority of like the formatting for like the for the animated aspect of it.
100%.
Oh, my
the
God,
classic scene
so good.
on the tugboat with the two worker guys.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
then the one
in the
dude
beginning.
gets sucked away, and you're like, I've seen this 1,000 times, but this is the perfect setting.
I
for this
was
type of
literally
thing.
asking myself, like, I was tortured during that scene. I was like, where have I seen this? Am I getting deja vu from when I watched this as a kid? Like, I know this scene.
You've seen it thousands of times
Yeah.
before.
Yeah, and like towards the end of it, I was like, Men in Black.
Yeah, I was wondering about that too, because this 2001, this movie is eerily similar to.
They have a Matrix scene in it where they're like, ooh, like
Yeah.
someone's
Yeah,
like
they
fighting,
do the
they
whole-
like bend backwards,
That was 99.
It's quite
Yep. So it's
quite
2
a
years.
Yeah.
quite a period
A
piece.
year and a half
still.
in production.
Men in
You know what I
Black
mean?
was
They probably
94.
whispered to each other as they were like,
Wow, was it really?
Well, you know,
Men in Black was when?
94.
Oh yeah.
way ahead of its time.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about the Futurama episode where Fry eats the egg salad sandwich, and very similar things
Yeah,
ensue.
very similar things.
But
Yeah.
Futurama came out way
That
after
one's a
this, I
deeper
believe.
season
Mhm.
one though, so I could
Yeah.
imagine there might be some,
A little bit.
one of the one of the writers watched the movie with their kid, be like, "Oh, this is great! Oh,
There was like a
Fairly
ton
Brothers
of that.
slam dunk again." Yep.
My ancestors came in on the sandwich.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's true. Yep. When my ancestors came on the umbilical cord.
Mhm. Did you guys ever
I
watch
raised a cloud of spores here.
The Cat in the Hat with Mike Myers?
Oh my god, part of it once, and it was traumatic.
Yeah, it's kind of a
That
weird
movie was
film.
too much for me.
It's kind of a weird film. So I watched this, Osmosis Jones for the first time as an adult. So I don't have these feelings and,
Yeah, we should
nostalgia
ask
that you guys
more
have.
questions.
And when you guys talk about it, that's what this film reminds me of, is The Cat in the Hat with Mike Myers.
Right.
Just because that was the first film, I think I was maybe 12 or 13 when that one came out. And that was the first film I watched where I got kind of both sides of the jokes. Where I was like getting all the kids' jokes where there was like, stuff being, splattered in people's faces and all this
Mhm.
stuff. And then also, jokes about hoes and whatnot. I was like, oh, I get both jokes. And I was like, what an inappropriate film. That's one of the first films I watched as myself, and I was like,
Adolescence,
inappropriate.
Actually,
Where your
watching like
third eye was
Disney
opening to like, oh
cartoons
goodness, there's
has
more
that
to
too.
these jokes.
Some of them have like some really weird moments where you're just like, whoa, this was meant to make like the mom and dad watching it with you laugh.
Mhm.
Yeah,
There
Not
was
the
a
best
you
lot
get
of
it
films
all.
are made for both. Because I notice immediately when I'm watching a child film that is just a child film.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it has such a different air to it,
Mhm.
like from the music that they play in the background to Which again, just a little vestigial praise. The soundtracking for this movie was absolutely
Ballin'.
ballin'.
Yeah, it was very good.
Yeah, goodness
It
gracious.
slaps. We were
Yeah.
like dancing.
There wasn't
through
the
this
moment when I
movie.
wasn't bopping my head as it was either shifting scenes or
Yep.
he was in the radio and his car was playing. It was
Mhm.
all just so great. Yeah, but again, I think that this movie is really showcasing the introspective power of itself. You know, I mean, with our ability to be able to unearth so many,
Yeah, you keep tying that back.
Like-
Build that connection.
children's memories and stuff to it.
Mm.
Like I honestly do think that is the strongest connection that we can find, and perhaps it might open the door to anybody else thinking about a different film that maybe we've all have seen, but it's like worn down on the tracks in terms of like life, and like maybe we were supposed to watch it at different transitional times in our life too, in the same way that we were talking about how in the Time Machine, it deals with a grief that we don't know about yet, in terms of like a significant other being lost and,
Mhm.
what that can drive you to, the ability to actually understand your body more as an adult and feel the joke, like feel what it means to like actually get all of the jokes as as Kimmy said, getting both sides of the coin. And also kind of getting like the sadness about it,
Mhm.
about Frank's like plight and stuff like that. And
More sad
Yeah.
for his daughter than anybody
Oh,
else.
100%.
She just watched her
Mhm.
mom die of what we assume is some, I guess, natural causes from being so unhealthy.
I'm calling it type 1 diabetes.
Ooh,
Oh, you're
very
calling it?
likely.
I'm calling it. Yeah.
Actually,
And
I
then
think
watching
what
her
Jose
dad
called it
almost die.
during the movie was being a fat fuck.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
oh man, there was definitely more words involved. They were not nice.
None of the words were nice.
I
No,
mean, if
but-
the movie's very, very tight exposition is to be believed, all right, she did not die from any sort of bus accident or getting hit by something.
No,
you know
the
what I mean?
girl even said, maybe if you and mom would have listened to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so she's been trumpeting this idea for who knows how long. I mean, she's what, like 11 years old in the movie, like thereabouts.
Sure.
So like she gets the conceptualization that, oh, my parents are both just absolutely eating horribly, you know what I mean, when she's like 6-7 years old maybe.
Which I gotta like applaud her for, if not bash the movie for it being unrealistic. But that's like what when you're raised in a family that eats unhealthy, that's what you think is normal.
Yeah.
And it
fair
takes
enough.
a
True.
long time to reflect on that.
Fair enough. And perhaps it's because of the fact that this movie was at like the turn of our technological millennium, where like because you can be more connected with people through like either email or like, like just TV being more accessible to everybody, and there being more than just 20 channels now. Like you can see the differences in like lifestyles that people can have.
Mhm.
And even back in 2001, right? Like she grew up in the 90s for real, so she has I mean, I remember being 11 and totally understanding the difference between somebody having an unhealthy diet and somebody being like actually like taking care of themselves, even lightly. You don't need any sort of like biology degree or anatomical like background to understand that continuously eating KFC all the time might not lead to the best outcome.
You might
know?
turn into a fat
Maybe.
fuck.
Yeah, exactly. And then die from it.
And then-
Yeah, actually tying back to that too, and like jumping around to the impact as a child watching this. As a child watching this movie was exclusively fun.
Mm-hmm.
There's a new layer of it watching it as an adult, which I was thinking about when we were watching the movie, that like as an adult there's so much more fear and stress focused around bodily health.
Yes.
That
Mhm.
watching this movie now, I was like at sometimes reflecting on my own health, and
Oh,
like
100%.
my habits and stuff. And I never thought about that as a kid, not once. But watching it now, I'm like, oh, I got to do that better. I'm going to be like this guy.
I was legitimately worried going into this movie for that very reason, because I have been.
You think it might call you out?
I've just, full disclosure, I've been a completely fat fuck for the past like month and a half to 2 months. I do not care what I'm
Mhm.
putting in there, and I was a little frightened that I would get called out. Yeah,
Mm.
and it didn't do me too bad. So
The timing feels real for me as well, because I get in these kicks where when I start cooking a new recipe, I will cook it to death. I will redo it and redo it and redo it. And actually, right now, what I've been doing is breaded fried chicken.
It's been delicious.
Oh,
Absolutely
So-
No
delicious.
complaints
Terrible
from
timing.
Jose's side of the room, I noticed.
It's honestly like it's so having this conversation and doing all this and eating the grain bowls beforehand, all that. So it's a very timely moment.
That really smoothed it over, honestly, because
Legs.
since COVID started and like getting food delivered to your house became infinitely easier and more mainstream, Matt and I order food here all the time because we both work full-time jobs. After work, we're like, I'm not cooking. Are you cooking? Okay, we're ordering. And that, like, this movie makes me reflect on that.
Mhm.
And wonder why we do that so much and like what can we do to work around that to not do that as much
Yeah.
before we become Bill Murray.
To have it not
A little-
be with 3 steps.
a little more full disclosure, we ordered from DoorDash the other night and they fucked up. Well, Panera fucked up, but
Wasn't DoorDash's fault. They handled it
Right.
perfectly. Thank you, DoorDash.
Panera was like,
Sponsor
call
us.
DoorDash, talk to DoorDash, whatever.
Think about it.
The fucking lady on the
Come on.
DoorDash helpline said, "Oh, you're one of our best customers. We
It
gotta
hurt.
fix this."
Also, I'm just gonna throw it out
Hey, that's
there.
clout, though. That's clout right there. Though.
Matt and I both have a DoorDash account, and we order depending on who it's more convenient for. So sometimes I order, and sometimes Matt orders for our dinner. But Matt by himself is one of
Is one.
DoorDash's best customer, and that does not even account for all of our orders.
As a couple, you guys are DoorDash's number 10 customer.
Actually,
Like,
I
in
think
the area,
DoorDash makes
probably.
all of their money off of our income.
We support them. We believe in the service.
As a couple, your gold circle, he's platinum. So.
That's right.
Hey, I don't,
Diamond status.
not to turn this into an ad for DoorDash, but I don't doubt them. You know what I mean? Every once in a while,
Yeah,
they
not yet at
save you.
least.
No, honestly, they've been great. They've really supported us through the toil of the pandemic. So once again, thank you, DoorDash. Think about sponsoring us. Give us a call.
Think about it. I mean, we say all these nice things and we're not getting paid a penny yet.
We could like
and
fade
we
to an ad
buy-
break where like, what, are you cooking? Do you feel like cooking? And Hannah's like, nah, I don't feel like cooking.
There you go. You guys could just make it like just make it like a candid situation.
We'll
From,
make it
for one
commercials.
weekend.
We'll give you the most real life scenario. This is truly why your customers are buying. It's not about the food.
Yeah. You know, I don't think that a lot of animated movies from my childhood have that capacity to be able to like have a whole other layer to be unearthed and like this one does, you know? Like especially because most of them don't really deal with like transitional concepts like you know, okay, you watch it as a child, right? But you're watching the exploits of an adult, you know, and it's really, really funny because, yeah, adults are old, you know, they fart all the time. They have, you know, like ingrown toenails, you know, like all of that stuff. And it's like now, like all of these problems are becoming so personal, you know, and
Yeah, it
Again,
used to be
yeah.
cute. Now it's relatable.
it used to-
Yeah.
Now here in the mirror going, oh no.
Oh,
No.
That's what I literally got hit with some fear because I have, I guess genetic feet shape. I have constant ingrown toenails, which the pandemic has made a lot better because I don't have to wear shoes. But
Thank you, COVID.
thank you,
Thanks,
COVID. Thank you, DoorDash. But during the ingrown toenail scene, there was a moment where I was like, ingrown toenails don't look like that. And then I was like, oh God, will it?
Oh, God. That's a fair point because
I've
how old
never
is
thought
Frank?
about
You
that.
know, like he's
Yeah.
got to be like topping 40, I would imagine, unless he's like 30, but he just looks like a piece of shit.
Hey, I have a quick question, you guys, and I want to ask all three of you at the same time. Have you ever had a zit spontaneously combust upon you or somebody else in the room with you?
No.
Is that a thing that happens? That's a real fear of mine that just was brought up by this film.
That's probably movie magic right there.
Okay, I was like, do people really do that?
I think that
Like-
does happen though.
I'm pretty sure
What?
the pressure
From
might
pressure.
actually be able to make it happen,
Oh my
but most
God.
people's like penchant for like, you know, popping it on their own.
Yeah, I
That
would
was
never.
my
I
first
can't.
Thought when I saw him, I was like, okay,
I'd
You
figure that
got
shit
up.
out or I'd go homesick.
Yeah,
You
that's
looked
ready.
in the mirror
It
this
is ready
morning,
to go.
and then you were like, "I'm ready for a meeting."
It formed within a couple hours though. That's the problem. He didn't get a chance to look in a mirror.
You'd
you know,
feel it, though.
between
Stop.
probably
yeah, Hannah's
doesn't.
right. If it formed that quickly, you would feel it because it would swell. It would be painful.
Yeah, but
I've never
itchy,
had a pimple
touchy.
the quarter of that size, and
Hey,
I'm
that's called
well
movie
aware
magic.
of
That
that.
part's called movie magic, all right? But as far as I understand, right, in terms of the movie's timeline, he was talking to his friend in the parking lot. He's like, I got an idea. I'm gonna, he didn't tell him what it was, but he didn't have the zit then. As he was driving to the school, the zit developed.
It was working on it though, because Osmosis Jones and his partner Drix were like, "Let's go to this nightclub." And
Oh,
how
so
would
they
you
knew-
know the
they already knew
location
about
of
the
the
zit,
nightclub
yeah.
or that it exists if it just came to be?
That's true.
It's
that's
the hot
true.
new nightclub that just opened up.
They
Yeah, and
probably
that
Google
Limp
Maps
Bizkit
that
Kid
shit.
Rock, show was happening tonight, so it was popping. Ah,
Oh shit!
Oh,
Chris Rock
boo.
missed out on some money
Yeah.
somehow. I don't know.
Chris Rock is better than that.
he could have made it work. It's just I don't have his delivery.
That's what you're lacking.
Yeah, that's what I'm
You have all
lacking.
of his genius. You
Yeah,
just lack a
just
little bit on
the
the delivery.
yeah.
side.
I don't have that raspiness to my voice.
You know, there
that's-
was this like golden era, right, in the early aughts, before the 2010s, where buddy cop movies were like the prime, like the shit.
Yes.
Right? You had like Rush Hour and Shanghai Nights.
Shanghai Nights.
Osmosis, like,
yeah.
what happened to
That was
this
a good one.
formula? Like, it's completely gone.
I think that they feel that they drove it to the ground, but I think it
yes,
might be
they
ready for a
did.
renaissance.
I think it would feel like a 90s
to be
movie.
brought back by Osmosis Jones.
Osmosis Jones too.
Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah,
Bring
why
it
wasn't it?
back.
Well, they made a shitty spin-off TV show.
They made a spin-off TV show that had over 100 episodes and still in
Yeah, I told you people recognize
It's
that
in
show more
cultural
than they
memory
recognize
more
the film.
than this movie. That's so disappointing.
Why did you
Yeah.
put this gross picture in the slideshow?
Yeah, and why
This
has it
isn't
been here
even
for
from
s-
the movie?
It's
To
been
be
here
fair-
for so long too. No,
be
to
fair.
Jose sent this to
yeah,
me,
this
so-
is just what I found, and I
Also
think
my
it's great.
slideshow.
Pass
It
by
fills
it.
it fills it in perfectly.
No,
I
it
think it
doesn't.
sucks.
Yeah, it looks good.
Grosses me out.
It crosses me.
Hannah and I have
Therefore,
some
it
real
sucks.
thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah.
During the film, Matt
You
was
just have a-
commenting on how we should have a camera on us to see what was going. Because at one point, Hannah and I had turned away and were just looking away from the film.
I know. We promised
looking away.
our
I don't like snot.
gross.
would-be Patreons bloopers, and we still haven't delivered any of them. And there was a gold mine tonight.
I feel like I got called out during this movie because I watch a lot of gross horror films, but snot is my Achilles heel.
If there's snot involved,
So if there's like a
She's not
snot
involved.
monster, like
I
horror
actually-
movie, you might that might just be the tipping point for
I
you.
literally can gag just talking about snot.
Yeah, it's gross. It's super
I have
gross.
a really hard time with it.
it's pretty fun to play
I-
with, actually.
I let it
It's-
pass
you're
so
the
much
worst.
more though because it's like I love things
The
like
topic
Always
or
Sunny
it?
in Philadelphia and whatnot.
Ew.
But like that show is very funny, so I let it pass. But like horror that's gross, I'm like, ugh.
Is he spitting on him? He's spitting on him. That's the cue.
Yeah, for me, it's the real scenes. Like the cartoon, I'm fine. I don't care. It's like the
Yeah.
scene with Bill Murray with like snot coming out of his nose that has me like, ugh.
Yeah, Bill Murray must have had such fun with this character. Good
I get to be as
Lord.
gross as possible.
As just possible. Yeah, you're telling me that you want me to you want me to like get ready for this film by not working out, by
showering?
not showering, not shaving.
Yeah,
I'm-
how
I figured
gross.
to
Alright.
twist
though.
my arm.
Yeah.
Like he looked genuinely unshowered through this entire movie. I have to believe that Bill Murray took this opportunity to not take a shower.
I
To
hope
live
that
a
he
real
did
man's
shower
life.
and that maybe they just baby oiled him before the scene.
It looked
Oh,
very
yeah.
real
Because he
to
looked
me.
greasy. Yeah, I mean,
No,
ugh.
we all know Bill Murray's a method actor. He would get
Is
into
he?
the mindset of Frank.
From what I know about Bill Murray, I think Bill Murray didn't take a shower. And I think he ate that egg out of the monkey's mouth too.
I swear,
I did not.
I swear, that is the.
Although that would be fun.
That was my first impression of Bill Murray, 7 years old. So I had to like rethink my because I didn't watch Ghostbusters till I was older.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah. So literally, when I saw Bill Murray in things for the following years, this is what I related
Is-
him to.
Holy
Is Bill
crap,
Murray in
Hannah.
Space Jam?
Wow.
Me too. This is
He
the
is
first
in
movie that I
Space
like
Jam,
recognized
but I
Bill
don't
That
Murray.
may have been the first time I
Oh.
saw Bill Murray with Space Jam.
Okay, fair enough. That's
Yeah.
true.
A little earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to
Why here,
Space
yeah.
Jam.
For whatever
But
reason,
he,
this
but
is
this
what
was
I
his,
tied him
but
to.
this was he was the protagonist in this movie. You know what I mean? In
Yeah,
terms,
just
or
like
like
a side
the world
character
building
in
aspect, the
Space
world building
Yeah.
aspect of him. You know, like you can't forget about him. It's really the big
He is
thing.
the world. What do you mean
Mhm.
world
Yeah.
building aspect?
Oh,
Frank.
true.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Murray is all of the movie.
So I'm curious, just because I was scrolling through Wikipedia at the beginning here, do we have any idea what Thrax is supposed to be?
COVID-12.
SARS.
Sure. Whatever you want to say. it is.
SARS? You think SARS could put you down in 48 hours?
That's the new
I don't
COVID
know, man.
variation.
Tough to
Mhm.
say. I mean, when you got Lawrence Fishburne's voice, you can go anywhere you want.
Is that who that is?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Actually,
You know what you should have done is like pull up a whole list of the star-studded cast who
Oh,
was
this
on
movie.
this.
Yeah, this movie just.
Jeez.
I kept trying to
This
place...
movie is a constellation. All right. There's so
Yeah.
many.
This is fantastic.
So
wait,
many
wait,
stars.
wait,
in
wait.
it.
Cold symptoms, though. Like
Hmm?
at first, you think it's the common cold,
Oh, no.
and then off to the ER.
And
you know,
how,
this is why they had that pimp flu
COVID-12.
in there to fucking talk
It's a Delta
people to
variant.
like,
It's a
hey,
Delta
I'm
variant.
cool. I'm cool, all right?
Mhm.
That was the whole pimp.
I'm telling you, it's a Zeta
got you,
variant. That's what it is.
yeah,
Didn't
exactly.
he say what he was? He said he was like red something.
He calls himself Thrax, and so it's like
shit.
So
And
it's
that
like-
little one calls him the Muerta Roja.
La Muerte
the red
Roja, the
death.
Red Death. Yeah.
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 Mm-hmm. He's like, I'm pretty sure it's
I
a
don't think
I'm
so.
pretty sure it's a fictional disease that he's supposed to be.
Oh,
You know, like
okay.
his name, like you can think anthrax.
Like COVID-19.
Perhaps
fictional.
it was topical in 2001 because of all those
Oh,
anthrax
that's true.
envelope situations. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
what's deadlier than that? What's a kid gonna think is, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
You know, that was a cool name, Thrax. You know,
Thrax. Yeah.
Mhm.
You wear a trench coat and you got slim shades.
Yeah.
You're looking sweet.
Mm-hmm.
He was a very good villain. by the way.
Every single time he was on
He's a
the
great
scene,
villain.
he stole the show.
Mhm.
You know, like the way that he like burnt down the barge, and then I never noticed it before. Maybe because I always watched this movie when I was a kid, and even when I watched it with Kimmy, it was like at a lower resolution like TV, you know. But I never noticed that he's like, as he's falling down, he's like ripping through the throat. You know, like you can see like the little lines running through, like obviously they mention afterwards like there's a sore throat, like there's all these problems, you know. But just little details like that
Mhm.
was really nice to be able to catch this time.
Yeah. Stuff you can't catch on a CRT.
No, not at all. No.
An HIV equivalent? HIV doesn't kill people in 48 hours.
Holy shit.
It takes years. It can't even do it anymore.
But I guess it would make sense because it
You
came
don't
from
get
a chimp,
HIV.
right? I mean, like,
No, it's blood
my God.
transmitted.
no. I mean, the
Oh,
thing that he got, Thrax,
was from the egg.
came because of the transmission from the chimp, right?
Mm.
So yeah, I mean, you could imagine that like perhaps it was a situation where like the last Vic of Thrax went to the zoo before they died. He floated, you know, because he knew that his job was done. Landed there, you know, and then just through happenstance, you know.
Okay.
Hi,
Yeah.
Jared and Claire.
Yeah. Hello.
Because he was killing the immune system itself.
But
No,
he wasn't going through the immune
No,
system.
he
No,
did
he was
something
going
to
to the
the
hypothalamus.
DNA,
He was
Yeah,
going
he
to the hypothalamus
literally damaged the DNA in the hypothalamus.
in order
which
to
sounds cancerous.
in order to be able to then just break it all down.
Hmm.
Because his big deal is overheating you. He wants
Yeah.
you to melt. Now the podcast is complete.
So Tom Kalanick was voiced by Ron Howard.
Oh my
What?
God.
No.
Actually, he kind of looked like he was animated for Ron Howard.
He did. He did.
Yeah,
looked
he
pretty
did.
good.
Oh my God.
Also, maybe the most funny way to start your like world building in an animated movie is have a guy talking about like fucking golden and what a trash pile.
What
it
a trash
is.
pile
Like,
it is, yeah.
We gotta start eating fiber. We
and
gotta.
and how it was
An
once a
exercise.
vibrant society, like a like industry, you know.
Yeah, and then he's
We
told
used
it
to
as
have
a
rec
regular
centers.
guy, which is like the best triple entendre joke I've ever seen. A regular guy.
Yeah, that's another thing that as an adult watching this movie, I felt like tied into the political agenda. I was like,
so
vote for
dumb, I
this
just
guy.
got it
He's
right
got it
now.
You
figured out.
just got it now.
You just got it.
I'm so so sorry, Hannah.
No, you're fine.
You got pulled into the politics too.
Yeah, I feel like as an adult, having like more, just like understanding health better and having more of my concerns, it's like seeing the politics play out in this movie. I was like, oh, this guy for sure, because I like he's got it figured out. He knows how to keep a healthy body.
He's down there in the shit.
Yeah,
He's
moving it himself.
yeah, he's got his hands dirty. Also colonic, like okay, a little too on the nose, but I'll take it. It's
Yeah, but
okay.
as a kid, you're not gonna get it.
no, you
I
wouldn't.
didn't.
No, not at all. No, but that's the whole thing, right? I mean, in my personal opinion, that scene, the whole scene with the commercial, it was always such a that one was a filler scene when I was a child, because it's like, sure, like it's nice to, like, yeah, the colon, you know what I mean? Like, I get like the whole like political ad aspect of it, because obviously by the time I was 10, 11, I'd seen one before, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that's his enemy, right? So obviously he's going to be talking, what I mean, like, how he's not a good, mayor. But I just, yeah, like reading between the lines of that whole scene, like absolutely outside of the bounds of my ability as a child,
Yeah.
I want to mention one more that was outside of probably because this time watching it was maybe the funniest scene in the movie to me was the science fair and the kid with the oysters.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, again.
Molly Shannon's character is like, I think he started that this morning. We just threw it on.
Molly Shannon, 10 out of 10.
All the while you can see the little kid just playing with the water and like just splashing with it.
He's like smelling it.
He's smelling it. If my hypotenuse is correct, yeah, they should be good to eat.
That's
Yeah, again, yeah, because when I was a kid, all I heard was he's slow. You know what I mean? Like, that's all, like, I got.
He's slow.
Yeah, from the whole situation. That's the only, like, word that, like, operated within that, like,
That's
scene.
all I got too. I was like, the kid was wrong. That's
Yeah.
not that kid's a bullshitter.
Not like that kid. Well, he should be in this special class, but we keep him in here because that would alienate him from the rest of the kids. But anyways.
Yeah. Goodness gracious.
Also, like, I just did so much cringing during that scene just because it's like, why would you even think to eat that?
Why?
That's not, you can't eat that.
It just
Didn't you
goes
have
to
a
show
fried
Frank's
Slim
problems.
Jim sandwich earlier?
Yeah. Go back further than this
Some
administration.
circus peanuts.
Ugh.
Oh,
Whole
I have
circus
more.
peanuts not chewed.
I have more unfortunate news about the voice acting.
Hmm.
What do you mean
What
unfortunate?
do you mean unfortunate?
Oh, I guess it's the first bit, but yeah, because I was suspicious when there was that in the Zit nightclub,
Right.
with the rappers and the singers
Yeah.
on stage, and the one that looks suspiciously like Kid
Kid
Rock.
Rock, yeah.
Yeah, it's Kid Rock.
Oh, it's Kid Rock,
Oh
100%.
my God, what?
Yeah, that's Kid Rock.
Who's the voice of Leah? Can you tell me?
Brandy.
Dude,
Yeah,
That's Brandy.
is it?
that's Brandy.
Mhm.
I was gonna say, I was like, she sounds familiar, but I couldn't tell who she was.
Oh, 100%.
It's funny. They even
Again,
said that during the movie. He
star-studded
says,
cast.
Osmosis Jones, when he approaches her, says, Leah. He says that in the movie.
Oh,
No.
He does. You didn't catch that?
she didn't get the regular guy joke until a minute.
Which, like,
Shut up.
Just kidding.
oh. But, like, as a kid, when I heard
Only my
that,
second time watching the film.
as a kid hearing that, though, when he called her the wrong name, I was like, oh, he does have all these other girlfriends.
Oh,
You're one that my mom warned me about.
That's a fair point. Oh man, maybe a lot of women, maybe a lot of the other white blood cells are lining up the divide with him.
Little does Brandy know that she's the apple of his eye. Like, he's got a little picture of her
his
pasted
locker.
over the locker bikini girl.
I just want to, like, say,
Creepy.
we would not take that as a compliment.
I know. I was just gonna say, I was like, also agreed, creepy. And
That was
Very
early
scary.
aughts romanticism. Early aughts romanticism was
Yeah.
very different.
Early
Yeah.
aughts.
Please
Early aughts,
temper
yeah.
yourselves.
Yeah, you were allowed to stalk a little bit in the early aughts, I believe.
No, I mean,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
no,
I mean, in
it's fine. We're talking about like the rudeness of like you put my face on someone else's body. Rude.
Okay, but first of all,
I
all
my
he had,
body
all
is
he
fine.
had was the body. I mean, all he had was the picture of her face. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's what he wanted to look at.
Yeah.
You know?
If he
Should've
could, he'd
creeped
take
her
the
on for a
full
picture
body,
of my
I'm sure.
man.
He wanted
Well, isn't
help
that creepier?
imagining the whole thing.
I mean, the whole thing's creepy. Why not just go the whole fucking mile, man? Jesus.
Honestly, that's like a real thing. Like Back to the Future, when he goes back in time, when Marty does, he sees his dad like in a tree with binoculars, looking into his
Doing
mom's
the little
window.
Nicky situation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm just a big bird.
yeah.
No,
I
I'm
think
just
it
a
was
big
way
bird.
more normalized back then. Whereas like now, when we see that, we're like, ugh, no, we don't like you.
God, you think normalized? Like you think there was like a rash of like these kind of things happening
Peeping
for like
toms
yeah,
and
for like
trees.
I mean, when's the last time you guys saw like a news article or something, or like even city gossip on a peeping tom?
whoops. Yeah. Yeah, not,
Jose,
that's
not a thing
not
anymore.
Whoops.
If we weren't together, would you climb up in a tree to look inside my windows?
No.
Okay.
I wouldn't
Matt?
have to because you'd live in the basement of your parents' house. So I could just watch it from
Jose's like,
No
I would
problem.
belly crawl through the bushes and watch you through those windows.
This egress window is pixelated and I don't like it.
I wouldn't have to climb a tree.
Uh,
Right
Okay,
answer?
fine.
Yes.
Yep.
It felt like a
Fair
trap,
point.
so
I needed to circumvent that real quick.
But yeah, Matt, Hannah asked you the same question. What would you do?
He just shrugged. He gave me a very suspicious shrug. He was like, I don't know.
I don't know.
Man, that sounds like a lot of effort. Sounds like a pre-internet issue. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
It's 100% a pre-internet
Yeah,
issue.
we can just text people now.
not only that,
Yeah,
but
you
just
don't have to commit felonies
there-
to
there-
get
You
Yeah.
guys
off
would install
anymore.
cameras in the right places than just
That's a
do it from the comfort
misdemeanor.
of their own
there are
home.
terabytes upon terabytes of pornography nowadays that are free. So it's like, why would you need to get on somebody's like windows to do that, or chat? You know, like do like chat, windows or whatever. You know, or like
Yeah, what a hassle and high risk situation that doesn't get you any closer to like, I don't know, a date with the person or sleeping with them to climb up in a tree. Like you're risking the whole thing and it's a big pain in the ass.
We've really veered off of Osmosis Jones.
Did we?
No.
I was thinking,
I feel like
okay,
we did.
was Osmosis Jones's what would you call it? Face model based off of a nightmare? Like
I think it was based off of Chris Rock.
there were a few times where his grin wrapped a little too far around the side
all
of
the
his
way,
head.
like a Cheshire cat kind
Yeah,
of
or
situation.
like-
Actually, Drix
Ah.
did that too when he was
Yeah.
getting all amped up. For,
Yeah,
like,
So
when he
there's
was
this
getting back up.
episode
interrogation.
of Family Guy where Brian eats some bad mushrooms and goes on a trip, and Stewie has to like help him out of that trip. It's a really great episode.
Mhm.
But in that episode, there's a monster who has the same grin as that guy, and it's nightmarish.
Mm.
It like it scarred me on the inside. And when I saw him make that same face, I was terrified. So I wonder if like maybe they drew him initially as the villain, and then they're like, "Oh, make him blue," and now he's a good guy.
So this was a horror movie for the podcast.
I mean, the ladies in the podcast turned away from the screen way more than they ever have in any
That's
other
true.
horror movie that
I
I've
never
ever
look away
seen.
from horror movies, but I looked away from this movie.
I certainly looked away from this movie. I mean, yeah, Hannah pointed it out. She's like, I've never seen you more detached. And I'm like, well, there's way more human scenes than I remember. Because the cartoon I can take, you know?
Yeah, but I'm not gonna like put a lot of weight on it for because I have yet to see you watch a whole movie for a podcast.
Yeah.
Sometimes you go to sleep as a defense mechanism.
That wasn't a defense mechanism. I was just really drunk when we watched Mario.
It's the only way to watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it made it so much better. Oh man. Well, see, I knew that we were able to get quite a lot out of this movie. There was absolutely no way that something as what I personally felt was iconic when I was a little kid and enough to ingrain itself into my brain enough that like I bring it up all of the time as a good parallel to understanding like
Oh my gosh. All of the time. Everything leads back to Osmosis Jones.
all roads lead to Osmosis
It really
Jones,
does.
all right?
And now
Well,
that I
how-
have seen the film, he's like, you get it. You get it.
Yeah.
Right?
Now he
Get it now.
smiles at you expectantly
Yeah,
he
after
does.
a reference.
He'll say it and not be like, "Oh, it's
Now
from
I'm expecting
Osmosis
her
Jones.
to say it's like
Yeah.
Osmosis Jones.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's a good point though, because I do feel like as a kid, somehow I knew this movie was iconic.
I'm surprised it's not more talked about, honestly. I laughed so much during this movie. It is so many grins and chuckles, and I can't believe I didn't
All right, so
rewatch it
let's
sooner.
go around
Wait,
then.
wait, wait.
Ratings, Kimmy.
Before we do that,
Nope.
though,
All
I
right
hate
then.
to pump the brakes on everybody, but before we do that, I have a quick question.
Mm.
I know we've appreciated the cast lineup and all of that. Would this movie have been as iconic without casting Bill Murray?
I
You
think so.
it would have gotten lost?
You have to find somebody equally as gross.
Not as
Yeah.
gross, equally as I'm gonna say
Talk
versatile,
bad about Bill
probably
Murray on the podcast.
because like
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
gross through the film, but he also, for some reason, like because Bill Murray is Bill Murray, he has this like he makes you feel sad, you know.
What?
You're part of it. Like at the end, you know, when he's like dead or kind of dying or whatever.
Oh yeah, definitely his performance
Medically
of
dead
dead
for
Bill
however
Murray
it is.
shook
I-
me to the core.
I don't know. I feel like it would have been hard to find someone to replace that spot.
I like what you're saying in terms of his flexibility in acting, because you're right. Like there's like an affability to him, right? Because he's gross, he's rude, and he's not an overall a nice guy. But the interactions that count, relative to his character with his daughter, you know what I mean, and stuff like that, I think would have been difficult for another character to do without losing me in terms of either the grossness, because there are people who are too good at being gross, and then just like, oh, like.
Oh no, I
No.
mean to restate the question, like I completely agree that Bill Murray I think he's a good performer. Like he definitely does a lot of pleading. He gets you to empathize with him. He did a great job, as I would expect him to do. But without the name, without having Bill Murray's name in the movie, do you think the movie would have been?
Oh, 100%.
considered iconic?
A constellation doesn't lose itself just because one star's gone. All right, there's still so many other stars in this movie that carry it.
I'm thinking
You don't see them.
Michael Keaton,
Hmm.
right? He
Yes,
played what's his name? Beetlejuice.
Oh, sure.
He can
Right?
be gross.
I could see that.
He
Yeah,
do it good. He do it good.
He's a good gross.
the guy who played second to him in this movie could have been the.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, Chris Elliott.
Yeah, Chris Elliott. Yeah, he could have been the main.
does a great
protagonist.
gross.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Oh, is that his?
Take my strong
what's
hand,
his name? Like,
child.
oh,
Mhm.
yeah. Okay.
yeah. He would have been.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
like
know the
he's also got
The
that
mayor
whole,
in Schitt's Creek. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know if you guys place this at all or if this is just like a thing that I picked up living with my family, but he also plays like this nerdy, gross, middle-aged brother in Everybody Loves Raymond. who's
Oh, I think
the same character.
later seasons. I think I do remember that one. Yeah.
That's his character. I mean, he created it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, the only difference is he's in a
typecast.
What's
comic
his
books.
name?
Chris Elliott.
Peter
Chris
in that
Elliott.
show.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the movie's got enough strong thematic legs that, like obviously casting is always important. There's like, and when it comes to a movie, the people that you pick to run the dialogue and everything like that will be the end all be all at the end of the day. But
But is it about the names, or is it really that this movie would have been a great movie and stand on its own without all of the stars?
how
like you
many
call
people are
them?
we taking out? Can we replace Chris
Everybody
Rock
you've
with Chris
heard
Tucker?
of is gone.
Shit
Right,
still
the
works
same.
out. Shit still worked out. I mean, yeah, who do you want to change? You know what I mean? Do you want Brandy to be Ashanti? You know what I mean? That would still
you know
work.
who I thought it may
Alicia
have been?
Keys?
Yeah.
Get the
I
fuck
I thought
Oh,
it may have
it
been
doesn't matter.
Gabrielle Union. That's who I thought Leah would have been
Mm.
before you said Brandy, because I didn't catch what Hannah said about. It's like Brandy. I mean Leah.
I
Yeah.
used to watch Brandy when I was a little kid, so I just knew her from the voice. Brandy.
Sing it for us.
Yeah.
Okay, now we can rate.
All right, Matt, go ahead. You
This
start.
is a fucking 5 out of 5, dude.
Yep.
Holy shit, did it knock it? I was tentative on so many levels coming into this, and
I felt it. I felt the ambivalent energy around this movie ever since like 2 weeks ago when we were supposed to have watched it,
Yeah.
to now.
Yeah, when we were supposed to have watched.
Yeah, I
it.
remember.
Kimmy's grateful though because Kimmy got to see the platform.
Yeah.
Honestly, I really, that movie wasn't that bad. So.
No, it wasn't.
Pretty good.
Not at all.
But
Yeah.
I came here that
Not
day
as good as
thinking we
this
would be
one.
watching this film.
And this
Which
time,
is a major brain
this
reset.
time it happened. Yeah.
Yeah, this time it did happen.
We could have just like held on to it and used it as bait to get Kimmy to
To
participate.
keep
in
coming back over
Yeah.
though.
It would have only
A
worked
running
one
joke.
more time.
But we could have gotten one more. We'll just tell her we're watching
But then I
cartoons
would have
every
had
They
to
would have
deal
gotten
with
me
it for
back
like a
here
whole
for
week and a
Christmas
half.
and then would have locked me down.
We're gonna be like,
Do not do
Kimmy,
this to me."
Kimmy, we're doing a Bob's Burgers episode.
It's just
We're
Peter
doing
Bob's
a marathon
Burgers.
of all of the musical episodes. And we're starting with the Christmas ones.
It's a Twins Peak retrospective. We're gonna go back through it.
Wonderful. I'll be there.
It's
I'm
a
already
week-long
there.
one.
Yes. I'll take it off work. I have the PTO.
And then we're like, yay, surprise, Silence of the Lambs is today. Actually, we already did the slideshow. So
Dude, if I would have known the Farrelly's brothers had been the ones behind this, I probably wouldn't have had the tentativeness. But put this on the wall. 5 out of 5. No second thoughts about that whatsoever.
Wonderful.
Wow.
Kimmy?
Oh. Watching it again, I still really like it. I always forget this is the second time I've seen it, but I do forget about how gross it is. Because
Yes.
when I was so excited to watch it, I forgot how much of the film is the gross human parts. 4.7.
I'm gonna be a little bit difficult on your review for just a second, and it's not because
Oh, yeah.
I'm
Let's hear it.
vying for it to be a 5, but what I'm saying is, as a horror fan, pleasantness does not play into the rating. That's not what it's about.
But I still give it a 4.7.
Based on strictly quality, or did you bump it down because of the grossness?
I did bump it down because of the grossness. There were large parts of the film where I felt like myself, I could not look at the screen.
Okay, I'm internally logging Kimmy as a 5 because she's using unfair parameters to rate a movie.
No, I think that's fair. I mean, the viscerality of certain things,
Take my words
That's
as
not what
they
movies are
are.
for.
Hannah, it's a 4.7.
It's a 4.
It's a 4.7.
Telling you.
It's a 5.
All right. Well,
Internally like, well, Hannah goes next.
Yeah.
You go last.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't, although I am absolutely grossed out by parts of this movie, I watch a lot of gross movies, so I'm not going to tie that in. And I think that a lot of movies are meant to give you visceral reactions. For example, Kimmy, I think a lot of the grossness here is to play into the dangers of the actions. And
She
what they
directs it to
result
me
in.
only.
I just want you to know.
how one reviews a movie.
Yeah, because pay attention now.
Uncultured swine
As an
over here.
internet
I've said
professional.
it many times before.
Because
Having 15 movies under my belt now.
oftentimes unpleasant movies or unpleasant things in movies are to make things hit home harder, and they're intentional. They're not an accident. They're not something the directors or the actors did wrong. It's what the movie was meant to be. So that's why I check you on that a little bit. But
Hot takes today.
Yeah, good.
Just
About as hot as Thrax's movements
that's
today.
a strong goddamn.
Oh
dude.
my god.
That's a strong opinion for me, so that's why. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I was tempted to give this movie a 4 or a 4.5 because of a lot of the general cheesiness. Like, a bad child actor is a major bummer for me, and I don't feel like the child actor did a super great job. And a lot of the dialogue I thought was cheesy, and that makes it a little bit more of a hard watch for me. But I would say that in discussing the movie since we watched it through and talking about the different things, the different subtleties, and also just like having a genuine appreciation for the fact that I enjoyed this movie thoroughly as a child, and I enjoy this movie just as much as an adult, I have to give it 5 stars because I enjoyed them for 100% different reasons.
Wonderful.
So they've worked a lot into this movie to give to everybody, and it's very hard not for me to not give 5 out of 5 stars of credit for that.
That's exactly
It's like 2 movies mashed into one.
that's exactly the same line of thinking that I'm getting through myself, is the fact that the movie manages to be able to flip the coin so perfectly between what a child needs in order to be able to remain entertained the entire time. and then just being able to and mesh the entire movie with what essentially becomes a very universal human plight, your health. Like
Yeah.
that doesn't matter what you believe in. It doesn't matter, like the more metaphysical aspects of your considerations. Like your body is your body, and that will always be the case. And the ability to, so many people, don't have the capacity to learn about biology, anatomy, and stuff like that. So even a shorthand like this movie, just to be able to conceptualize yourself in a more simplified way, but at the same time, in one that gives you a pretty accurate conception of yourself at the same time, I think is paramount. I'm gonna have to entirely agree with the fact that the biggest sag in this movie is the live action aspect of it.
Yeah.
Like I understand the fact that Bill Murray, like, it's interesting, right? Because like the dialogue for Bill Murray has to be cheesy because he's always talking to his daughter, and because he's always talking to a child, it can only ever get, so sophisticated in relation to, to it.
If they had made the kid older, it would have solved the problem.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. Yeah, perhaps
Preteen?
Mhm.
Or
Just
teen
old enough
teen.
to understand the concepts. I've never heard a kid that age say anything that mature or have understandings of like mortality that are that advanced. For me, her being older would have solved the problem, and it would have been an easy 5 out of 5.
I can see that. Yeah. It's tough, right? Because I mean, like, she's at an age where she's still close enough to her parents, right? Where like their well-being is like, still so so tantamount to like her.
You still
her
get that though, because her
but then
mom
when
died.
when you're an adolescent, you start kind of coming to understand the fact that everyone's kind of making their own choices. It's like, oh, my mom, my dad smoke. It's like, okay, that causes cancer. We all know that, right? It's like, I mean, like after a while, it's like, what if I'm 14, 15? It's like, what, like, am I really going to be nagging my parents, you know what I mean, about them eating healthier?
Yeah, I think if her mom died, then that's a totally feasible option. I think if one of my parents died as a teenager, that would have broken that dissonance for me.
Do you think that there would have been the ability to be able to keep the lightness of tone if it would have been a older adolescent, though? Because I think the fights would have been far higher in gravity, right? Like if a 14, 15-year-old tells you like your lifestyle is the reason why my mom died, when an 11-year-old, 10-year-old says it, okay, like we can bring this, fire, we can maybe extinguish this fire down a little bit, but like
The 14-year-old sneaks off to smoke meth with her friends.
I mean, we laugh.
That's
I'll
stay
be
skinny.
honest with you. I truly think that both, at least for me, but like both of those, no matter how old they are,
mm-hmm.
to be a parent, I assume none of us are. Let's
Right.
disclaimer here: none of us are. None of us, I think, plan to be. To
Lots
be a
of money.
parent or to be like a guardian and to have someone like throw that in your face, I can only imagine like how
Maybe that's what adds to the
threatening that
lightness.
The level of defensiveness you would also automatically fall into, would be absolutely ridiculous. Like we can talk about here logically, you know what I mean, about like, oh, maybe he would always like try to placate her or something like that. But again, if you're talking to a 14-year-old, right, who might use the word fuck or whatever, like in the middle of their sentence when they're talking to you, like that might ignite you also, as the parent, to just not be able to have the kind of lightheartedness that this movie required in that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think two things about that. I think definitely it can add to the lightheartedness and the comedy that it's like a 10-year-old telling you that, because it's like, what do you know? Like what your 10-year-old is so much ahead of you on this. But yeah, also just a quick throw out for the movie is Bill Murray's character in this movie is a great father, because he never gets impatient with her. I mean, he's totally terrible at taking care of his body, but he's extremely attentive and extremely sensitive as a father in this role.
There's nothing wrong with a little egg and mayonnaise.
Yeah.
Oh,
There
that
is.
wasn't the
there's nothing
that
wrong with a
wasn't the
little
worst
egg
part.
and a little mayonnaise, Matt. What's wrong is the
Little
fact that he
mayonnaise.
used an entire pack of mayonnaise and then what I would imagine is 3/4 of that salt shaker of salt on that egg.
Or like if you're into egg salad, a lot of egg and a little mayonnaise.
Ugh.
I just don't eat eggs when they were inside
And a
of
little
chimp
bit
set
of like
line.
chimp pen, whatever the heck that is.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
when the whole thing goes.
You should
haywire.
never go toe to toe with the chimp.
Well, I
think
mean,
is-
I want to give this
He
movie a
choked
5 out of
it.
5, but in reality, it's a 1 out of 5 because at the very beginning of it, that little
Ooh,
girl
plot
said
twist.
that the chimpanzee was a monkey, and monkeys and chimpanzees are entirely different.
That's a
things.
great ape, sir.
1.5, 1 out of 5.
Oh, what? She understands mortality,
that
but doesn't know
didn't-
the
if that hadn't
difference between an
Thank
ape and
you.
a
See, plot hole.
1.5.
She wins the science fair, but she doesn't know the difference between
Do I,
an
Yeah,
ape
with
and
do
a
her
I
monkey.
give it
sick
the lowest score at
volcano.
the 4.7?
Yeah. No, I gave it a 1 out of 5.
Oh, okay.
Give us your real rating.
Sentimental 5 out of 5.
You are
1
not
out
allowed.
of 5. If I'm really putting on my review or
You are
capping.
not
Post facto.
allowed
Yeah, I
to
mean-
force us to watch a movie and
1.5.
then give it a 1 out of 5.
But isn't
Can't-
that a great twist?
Okay,
It's an M. Night
motherfucker.
Shyamalan twist right
The
there.
next few weeks of your life are gonna be hell.
Hannah, will you accept my 4.7 knowing that I never watched this before, like as a child?
What 4.7? I didn't hear a 4.7.
Yeah, she logged you away as a 5. I'm pretty sure. We got the scorecard
I'm a
here. Yep, says
4.7,
can be
you
5. I
guys.
don't
No,
know.
Listen,
who am I kidding?
You
No,
4.7.
it's a
don't
5 out of
bump
5. It's-
points for unpleasantness. It was on purpose.
You've let me dock
Lawrence
points for
Fishburne's
unpleasantness
character.
before.
I mean, like Lawrence Fishburne's characterization of Thrax was just
Sick.
so
I thought you had other
badass.
reasons.
Like, oh my goodness. Again, like between the real crime procedural and having him be the antagonist. Like honestly, this movie did not need the live action aspect of it
No.
whatsoever.
No.
That was a vestigial thing that it added sentimental value to it. It added to the adult more, like conscientiousness of it. That can lead down the line.
Mhm.
But I think that if we would have watched this movie even without that, I think we would have still had just as much of a fun time.
No, I like it. And here's why.
Okay.
So they deeply ingrained it. The beings inside of Frank's body cared when bad things happened to Frank
Right.
right.
psychologically.
Mm.
And I think the reason that is because bad psychology leads to bad health
Right.
Mhm.
very quickly, and it's dangerous. It's a slippery slope.
It's a positive feedback loop
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah,
Just like you guys said earlier, where I'm sure the death of his wife made it so that
they all
the mayor was able to do more things like KFC every night for dinner. Everybody, let's go to the chicken wing festival this weekend.
Yeah,
Like,
we need to start feeling better. Yeah, like that administration must have had it so
Yeah.
easy in relation to like just trying to get like parades or whatever. You know what
because,
I
yeah,
mean?
I
Like
believe it
Tied
was
to
you, Hannah, who
drugs.
said earlier that part of the grieving process truly is being sick. Like
Yeah.
you go through all these different things because your mind ends up spending so much time thinking about itself and how sad it is that it doesn't really control your body processes that well.
and Frank can
Well, you don't
never
take care of
just
yourself.
think about himself, right? Because he always has his daughter to think
Correct.
about. So it's just like I mean, yeah, it's such a weird and horrible positive feedback loop, right? Because he's like, okay, I'm thinking about my daughter. Let me treat myself a little bit. You know what I mean? It's like not only am I grieving, you know what I mean? I'm also trying to be a single father. You know what I mean? I'm doing all of these things.
Well, and he's trying to adopt her into it, which in some ways is probably him trying to make her feel better. But it's like, we'll go to the chicken wing festival.
Yep, yep.
It's like, this will be fun for both of us because chicken wings are so good.
Mm-hmm.
True.
No, it's very true. Yeah, I mean,
It is
she
very
she
true,
got
100% true.
she got the appropriate moral out of the story of her mother dying, which is better care of your body. Don't be don't get so careless about things like that. Where her father, because of the the grief, missed the moral and just fell deeper into a cataclysm of like grief, which then the same kind of demon of gluttony or whatever essentially took over him and is slowly killing him too in that way.
I don't know if it's like a demon of gluttony. We've already given the reviews, so we're just kind of like rambling on, I feel like, at this point. But
Well,
The
I
best
want
part, this is
Jose's honest
this is
review.
Yeah.
the
I wouldn't
Oh,
know
it's
if
a
it's
5 out
like
of
the
5. No,
demon
I'm-
of gluttony, but like if you
Thank
think
you.
about it the way you're saying, it's like for him, it's kind of like a reward, right? Like I can only imagine how sad I would be when you pass. You know what I mean? And to have like the accomplishment of making it through a 40-hour work week, I'd be like, fuck yeah, I deserve some fucking fried chicken tonight. And hell no, I don't want to fucking make it for myself. I did it.
Yeah.
You know, and also to be rearing a child at the same time. Like, can you imagine? Honestly, just the kind of like, I could like tear up even thinking about it. Like, it's so hard to think about.
Yeah.
and
So,
remember being
Falling into the routine of rewarding yourself with food or like desserts and stuff could be
Mhm.
very easy.
Yeah, if Matt died, I'd be rewarding myself for getting out of bed in the morning.
And being
Hannah
a
would be
zookeeper
the
wasn't
number
his
one
choice,
DoorDash
That,
customer.
that whole situation was a horrible
and not
happenstance
the number 2.
that happened because of the whole osmosis incident.
Oh, aw. The
Like
only reason why she gets to be
he had a
number one.
steady job before that didn't have to deal with him being around nasty animals.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like being around literal shit
Are you
all of
calling
the time.
camels
Like,
nasty animals.
They
well, yeah, because they work
spit.
at a zoo.
But not the animals are nasty. They just live there. We
Yeah, but
put them
I
there.
mean, relative to the human's
We-
immune system, though, I mean, like the continual exposure to having to clean them, though. You know,
The
like,
animals are nasty.
yeah,
I
100%.
disagree. I think poop is nasty and the animals aren't nasty.
They're covered in poop
Only
They're not
because the
covered
people who
in
take care of them
poop.
can't
Those
take care of
camels
them.
look covered in poop to you?
on their butts.
No, I didn't see any poop.
The
on
last
Well, you didn't
time-
see any camel butts
Matt's
either.
embellishing. Yes, I did see a camel butt.
Where?
They were turning around in circles in the movie. This is like a hard tangent, but
Yeah, but again, movie a lot sadder than I ever remember it being. You know,
5 out of 5 for sadness.
also
Yeah.
this movie motivated me to
5
be
out
more
of 5 for
healthy.
sadness.
woo, 5 out of 5 for healthiness.
I'm
Time to
so
start
glad we ate
exercising.
like salads and grain bowls before we watched this.
I'd be feeling like a real piece of garbage. if we
Just
were
so
on
everybody
pizza
knows,
again.
frequently we've been eating Jets or you
Yeah,
know, like
Frank.
some deep dish pizzas. You know,
That's disgusting.
fried deep dish cheesy pizzas.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good.
Mhm.
So, what do you guys think? Do you think we nailed it? We
Pizza,
got it all
5 out of
down.
5.
This is the
Slap
perfect
a bow on
podcast,
it.
in my opinion.
The perfect podcast. We can always improve. We're looking for feedback.
Swish.
Drop a comment.
I've been asking for this movie for weeks. Perfect podcast.
Well, all right.
Mwah.
From our metropolis to you, everybody, have a good day and a good night.
Good night.
Good night.